Good evening, fans of Rando, and welcome to this SpeedGaming presentation of the Link to the Past Randomizer League Season 4, a matchup between Matt7898 representing Team Waffle House Drive-Thru, and Homemade Beer representing Team Swirly Brewing. I am Main DM. I am joined in the booth for the match this evening by my good buddy Smirk JD. Smirk, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic today, my DM. Thank you for asking, and I am really excited to see this race today.
Yep, this is week 3 of League, and week 3 is Casual Boots, that mode where you start with the sword in your hand, the boots on your feet, and a mission. You have to go rescue the princess from the cell in the bottom of Hyrule Castle, take her to the relative safety of the sanctuary, and then you can set about collecting your 7 crystals and defeating the pig to end his reign of terror.
I like how you said relative safety.
Well, you know, in the vanilla game, she eventually gets captured from there and sent to the Dark World by the Dark Wizard Ganon and imprisoned in the Crystal and Turtle Rock. Well,
it's so perfect.
Relative safety.
Okay.
Our runners ought to be getting underway here momentarily. This ought to be a rather intense matchup. We have Matt, who is pretty well known within the community, a top-end runner with a great deal of skill to his credit, and Homemade Beer, a relative newbie who within his first year of gameplay did manage to qualify not only for the main tournament, but made his way quite thoroughly in. He has some skill to show off tonight as well, and we will see that from both runners here in the very near future.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing about Homemade Beer, he started, like you said, he hasn't even played for a year yet, and he's just gone super pro like in that time. So, oh, they're starting.
We are off. We don't have to worry about bombs. We have bombs in the house. That means if our runners are so inclined, they could do silly shenanigans like finishing saving the princess, and then you can go do things other than the village.
It's still, yeah, like you said, really nice to get those bombs early like that, so you don't have to worry about finding it elsewhere by the time you reach Caprio.
Not nearly a problem in the escape sequence, especially when the uncle's going to hand out yet more to you. You can always bonk that wall in the back of escape in a casual boots mode.
Stacked game. Too many bombs.
Too many bombs, free and easy. The 5 rupees probably a little less interesting.
Yeah. You want to see bigger rupee numbers early on, so you don't have to worry about farming those either. In case Sora becomes a thing. Okay, here we go. We're getting the time sync here, and looks like they're almost exactly in sync.
Not really a surprise, both of these runners more than practiced at things like the escape sequence.
See their spin strat here, this round. Well, maybe you just missed the quick hop a tiny bit there.
Handing away precious frames, maybe as much as a whole half second, whatever we do.
I wonder if he's farming here first.
Having a look at the prize pack, perhaps?
Yeah. Ooh, the cards are also in the bomb pack. So, would have been important if he didn't have bombs to begin with. He would have this knowledge now and be able to farm some on the way, but since he already has those 6, I doubt he's going to continue farming those.
Seems unlikely he's going to turn his nose up at the one he saw. Meanwhile, Matt is already down into the prison complex here in the bottom of the castle. We're going to get an 8/ strat.
Yeah, I was actually shocked to find out how much faster it is to do the 8/ strat. It can save like a good 10 seconds on your escape time, if not more.
It's faster as long as you do it right. As soon as you fail, 1 pot plus 4 slashes becomes faster. So when you're really good at the game like these two runners, it makes a lot of sense to go for it. If you're not quite at that level yet, there are alternative strats that will probably save you more time than you'll actually lose attempting the true top-end strat, shall we call it.
Right. And also, I missed it. Was the Bombus in Zelda cell?
Yes, it was. We
Okay.
have the Swirly coin, appropriately enough, appears to be showing up for Team Swirly Coin Brewing in the person of homemade beer. We'll have to see how the Waffle House Drive-Thru does later for Matt7898.
Now, I'm not as familiar with Matt7898, but I know that beer is real big on Ice Palace with that Bombos. I mean, you need a
Well,
few more things, but
yeah, he's going to need a few more things before that becomes a going concern, but, you know, we'll see. First, you have to finish the escape sequence. We're kind of in that little interim period where we're not going to check a chest for another couple of rooms.
yeah. While we're doing that, I just wanted to point out Jinxie Girl is our tracker today. So big shout out to her for tracking both the runners.
It's always nice helps to keep us on point and make sure we know where everything is.
Like that Bombos that I missed.
It is, after all, the age of Quick Swap. We do not see the menu as much as we might once have.
Very true. Alright, I have to start reminding myself now to get ready to see their map checks. Because I always miss it. They're so fast at this.
Yeah, that's where you pretend, and then you wait until our wonderful tracker has caught all of it and puts it on the screen, and then say, oh yeah, by the way, that map check happened, and...
Wow, okay, so both Matt and Homemade Beer getting pretty much all the key dashes in the escape sequence. Those can be kind of hard to do on some of them. The map
particularly
there.
the one in Dark Cross, and yeah, we did find the map, so both of our runners are going to be raiding the poor box today.
Alright, 509 for Matt7898 on the escape time. That's absolutely incredible.
That is the kind of time that a top-end runner is looking for, that's for sure. Beer is going to be out here about 10 seconds after.
Oh, did you? There was map check. Do you see it?
Impossible.
I don't even know how. Alright, let's see if we can catch it on Beers. Or did he already do it? Oh, wow. Okay, so I was just commenting how I never see any progression in Bomb Crocs when I play Cast Boots. And here we have the link in Bomb Crocs. Not fair.
Yeah, it's a little bit of baby's first progression. It is a first fire source, which, you know, maybe access to desert or access to Hera, and finding all of the items therein could hinge on having that lamp.
Oh, gosh, that's so nice. I didn't see the Lumberjack either.
That was 100 rupees. I don't think they're going to be going back.
Yeah, for sure they're not.
We'll see it one more time from Beer first, of course.
And Beer himself was actually telling me how... Oh my gosh, do you think he'll check pet? No.
It wouldn't be a bad time to do it, but that's kind of an out-of-the-way check. You can spend a lot of time, of course. Conversely, you can gain a lot of time if something happens to be there and you know bright and early that I need to do all of the pendant dungeons.
Absolutely. You can just make your routing of all of those dungeons much more efficient if you know. But the chances of there being something there... Wait, he's going back?
I think he's going to go for it after all.
Ooh. So I was going to say make a point about something that Beer taught me, but it's not going to matter as much for Matt's case. So Beer was saying the ideal is to get done with Escape, the Lumberjack Ledge check, and all of Kakariko in 10 minutes. But of course, by going off to check pet with the book, that's going to definitely make that a little more challenging.
And we did get that map check from Beer. We have full regular crystals in the light world.
Ah, okay.
Going to get simultaneous checks of 2 different 5-item dense locations. Matt in the well, Beer in Blind's old hideout.
Hey, fire shield.
Fire shield looks like the best thing we've seen through 9 items. Let's see if this one last check in the back of Blind's hut is going to give us something that's actually interesting.
Nope. Just more money. But
yeah,
go ahead.
Just a little more cash money. You do have to pay off the bottle vendor, and Zora may be in the offing eventually, so it's not the worst thing to find, but not really changing any of the runner's thoughts on the seed thus far, I would not think.
Yeah. I usually say if Kakariko is kind of empty, then Zora feels more appealing. Regardless of how much money you have.
Alright, and our runners are through trading in places there. We'll converge back at the bottle vendor here. That has some value.
Absolutely. I'll pay 100 rupees for a mirror any day. However, we're not seeing a whole lot of Dark World stuff. Like, normally you expect to find at least one Dark World item by the time you're done with cat. Like a glove, a hammer, or a loot. So far, we have none of them.
Well, we have found one. We found the lamp.
Wait. What? For Dark World access?
Yeah, another sword or a cape, and we'll be doing Aga.
Okay, fair.
The Dark World access that nobody actually wants to do. But, well, sometimes you're forced into it anyway.
Ooh, that bonk from Matt made him simultaneously get into the library. It's exciting. Oh, there's that moon pearl. Okay. However, this makes that Aga seem even more likely because it's the one piece that you don't need. Like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's not a hammer or a glove.
And there are the near simultaneous save and quits. Let's see where our runners want to go next. South Shore is a possibility. Could go over towards the eastern area, check out Sahasrala's closet, but no, both of them are going to opt for South Shore in some flavor.
I know Beer likes to be pretty thorough with Spirits Hero. So he likes to do the mini Mulderm and then later do the Dam to Ganon play.
Well, the first item in the dam, just 20 more bucks, not really paying out except in cash money. Very soggy explosives, while Homemade Beer has found the blue mail on the NPC in Mini Moldorm Cave, and then...
Ooh, Zora money!
Just enough money to cover Zora.
506. I always hate going all the way to Ice Ride Cave and ending up at like 490 something, but not having the gloves to lift up that rock. So then it's like, do I gamble that it's going to be on Pogo?
Or do I sit here and try and farm crabs, see if they're in the rupee pool or in one of the variety packs? Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Very nice trap management there by Beer.
With the blue mail, the crab's a little less dangerous, and there's that second level sword. So Aga now on the table for our runners.
So what would you do? Would you still clear more zeros, or would you gamble the Aga red?
At the very least, I'm going to... And actually, you know, with that mirror, maybe not. Maybe you just go ahead and bite the bullet on the Aga play and then head over towards the eastern pod area with the mirror. You can kind of make that play double duty for you.
Exactly. That's exactly what I would do too, just because of this specific layout of items. Now, if I had the glove or the hammer, that might change it. But I absolutely like this play by both Beer and Matt, going to, to check these water checks before making that play, because if they find something that's out of logic here, they could potentially help.
Now, Beer is swimming and going to find that out of logic bow, while Matt is going to run over here and will be swimming afterwards if he doesn't want to just save and quit out.
So Beer is doing something you just taught me how to do.
Yeah, he and I actually had the conversation about exactly this piece of tech during that league match you were racing earlier. Funnily enough.
But in this
Now,
case, the moon pearl was available, so.
sub
You're slashing.
15-minute 3 shields.
Wow. Gold shield. Ooh, this is a little dangerous, though. After this, they will be very short on money. So
It would make a lot of sense to carry that out of logic bow, go to Eastern, and while you're heading towards the boss, go into the rupee room for 90 rupees. We'll see if either of our runners have that thought in mind.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. You get to check Saha's closet, and if you don't find cash there, you can dip into Eastern. But hopefully you find enough money to pay for Kiki if you go that way.
And here we go, as you were surmising, homemade beer going to go ahead and be very thorough with these early checks.
Yeah, I imagine he'll go all the way to Gina from here.
Particularly with the book, plus the lamp, plus the boots, if he can find a glove somewhere along the way, then Desert becomes clearable for him.
Yeah, very true.
That does make me mildly surprised that he didn't opt for the play over to Saha Eastern first in hopes of finding said glove, but maybe he's thinking that it's just an Agaseed and he's only going to go as far as he wants.
Possible. Hot is the green pendant today.
As the saying goes, from no few runners in the league believe in Pendant Pod.
Yeah. Especially green pendant pod, it's like even more hype. Now that was a tempered sword in Sa's closet there, so do you think they'll get a gold sword in under 20 minutes? I mean, gold shield, gold sword, just a match? Well,
Could be, you could even find red mail and have the entire full power visible loadout in under 20 minutes.
right?
There are a handful of
beer.
checks left.
Homemade beer finding the silvers in Agina, so that was the first actual logical bow, since the other bow was out of logic.
And here is homemade beer going to go ahead and make the Aga play.
I'm excited.
Thinking now I have a logical bow as opposed to the illogical one. I have this Aga access. Maybe I'm supposed to be going over to that Palace of Darkness play.
If nothing is an Eastern Palace, beer will definitely save some time here because there's not much else Matt can do after this Eastern Palace play besides that. Like, you can go and check Akina and find his silvers, but... So I definitely like this gamble by Quinn. I think it's very reasonable to make.
Yeah, again, given what we were talking about earlier, how he has that mirror, if the answer is in Eastern, he's going to be over there anyway, and he's a simple mirror transition away from getting whatever it is that Matt finds. So he's only going to have to run over to the area once.
Yeah, and depending on what it is that is concerned, could directly to 5. Now, I don't know, do you think he'll go into 5, being that it's pendant?
Yeah, I do see the comment in chat from Orange and then Capped, the concern about Pod being the money situation on Beer's side, but he's a reasonably knowledgeable runner. He can always go into Eastern first and find the money he needs.
And wasn't there a 300 in Saha's closet, or was that the first check in this turn?
I will be honest with you, I do not recall.
Oh, Saha's closet was tempered sword. Thank you, Triple Factorial.
And Tempered does have a monetary value attached to it in the vanilla game. Of course, it's only 10 rupees.
So even though there is a logical bow, no, this is completely illogical, right? This land.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this eastern play logically.
Yeah.
Lamp to get you through the dark rooms, bow in Agina's closet to take you through the back end of the dungeon.
So there could very well be a progression item on accomplishments.
So we
Right.
have simultaneous boss fights here, which is one of them's boring, and as long as you know how to release a button in a timely manner, it's not at all dangerous. The other one at least has a quick kill set up for it, and you receive 1 stick refund.
Oof.
1 stick refund for killing the Armos Knights today.
Alright, so, I mean, what, there's still Agina, and there's still 2 checks in Desert. I mean, for Matt, to be considering. But do you think he goes there, or do you think he goes to Agate?
I would think this would be an Aga play, but let's have a look.
Nope, he got the book out. He's ready to go to Desert.
Alright, so he's thinking maybe I still have an out here, and maybe he does. We have not seen the items in Desert Palace yet.
Very true. We know Agina and Desert Ledge aren't in, but... Okay, how many blue balls was that for beer? Because I feel like he was fighting Agina or Agate for like
Forever?
Yeah. Oh, Dark Roll map check.
Yeah, TR.
TR is a pendant. And was it Red Crystal, Skull Woods, and Thieves Town?
I'll have to wait until our wonderful tracker Jinxie Girl confirms that, but I believe you're correct.
Okay, Meyer was the other pendant. Okay.
Matt picking up those silver arrows. We'll go ahead and have this quick dive into Desert. We'll see how long it goes. Speaking of dives into locations, Homemade Beer going to go ahead and see the back of Saha's closet here, going to have that tempered sword in hand.
Oh, it's wonderful.
That's 1 rupee closer to the amount of money he needs, but 1 is not nearly enough. Matt, meanwhile, picking up the blue cane here in Desert Palace. And as is so often the case in casual boots, we are boots locked in Desert. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise! Alright, so there's 1 item remaining, and it could even be on land mode. But... So this is Matt's last hope for avoiding Agate.
He needs it to be something that unlocks more item locations, too. Because he already found 1 item in here.
Like, if it's the glove, for example, that would unlock the mountain. So that could work out. And that also unlocks Packet Desert. But
yeah, similarly, the flute would do the job.
The last item is on Lambo, so 100% Agaseed confirmed.
Unable to avoid the Aga play this seed are both of our runners. Beer decided to bite the bullet on that just a little earlier.
Overall, this should, pay out in Beer's favor, being able to, like you said, only have the 1 trip over there, combine it with maybe a pod dip, etc. Because he's not going to find anything here in Eastern either. But I think he'll probably dip pod after this. I mean, where else would you go? Can't go to Catfish.
Yeah, at this point he doesn't have another option. Pod is going to have something. Now, ideally from Beer's perspective, he's eventually going to find a glove so that he only has to single dip desert as well.
Right. I need glove to give me that.
Yeah, and with that 300 in the first chest of Eastern Palace, Beer no longer has to worry about diving into the rupee room for the extra 90.
So chat saying Matt's going to have some hustling to do, and this is partly true. He's definitely lost a little bit of time with the fact that he'll have to double dip desert. Sort of. I mean, if he gets there with a mitts and flute later, then going to the back, then he's not actually going to have to go into using the book. So it's not much of a time loss. It's mostly just the trek over there on foot. It will cost a little time. And same, he's going to have to walk to the pod location where he's already walked to the eastern location rather than being able to combine it here. But besides that, it's not really too far beyond because Beer will still have to check desert probably.
And at the same point, we will have to note that Matt had definitely, through the escape sequence, already shown us a little bit of an execution advantage. So maybe he thinks, I can afford to be thorough, I can make a few more checks than my opponent, and we'll see if it pays out for him, because the early game definitely showed that there was a little gap there to be had.
Yeah, for sure. That's generally the strategy. If you know your opponent and you know that you have an execution advantage or disadvantage, you may want to consider playing differently based on this.
Now that we know this Aga is terrible, I guess we can count just how terrible it really was, even though we're seeing it for the second time.
Alright, well that was one blue ball. 2. 3.
3 failed coin flips on round 1. That's unfortunate and probably about what we should have expected.
I like the boomerang.
It is one of those interesting things to see. A lot of runners like to kind of play around with the Aga fight since it is long and slow and boring. What's not long and slow and boring are those gloves that Homemade Beer just pulled out of the drop-down chest of Palace of Darkness.
Exactly, and it's just like you were saying, that glove will now allow him to full clear desert rather than having to come back to it later. Oh gosh, I lost count of blue balls.
I'm sure that somebody in chat's going to back us up on that. Speaking of chat, welcome to ALTTPR and Raiders Party of 25. You are joining in progress a League Season 4 match. This is Casual Boots Week. A matchup between Matt7898 of Team Waffle House Drive-Thru and Homemade Beer of Team Swirly Queen Brewing.
Six blue balls? Okay. That's not like the worst thing. But it's a pretty high number. I'm still waiting for that
survivable number, but it feels bad.
It does feel Right. Beer deciding to continue all the way through pod. Can't complete the dungeon without a hammer, but I think it pays off to look through the whole dungeon here. I would be tempted to leave with just that glove, but I think this is a better play.
Well, the thing is, the glove by itself only gives you so much. Yeah, you can logically get up the mountain now and do Hera, so you've got, what, 5 or 6 checks up there? Inclusive of Ether Tablet. And what you see right there is the reason why you stay. You've made the run over here to Pendant Pod. You don't really want to have to come back, so do what you can do. Sometimes there's just an Ice Rod in the back half of Palace of Darkness.
Well, Ice Rod may not be needed this seat, but it also may be, since Pendant TR is a thing. But yeah, like in Beer's perspective, you know, he still hasn't done desert, so that glove could be like, oh, well, there's 2 items in desert as well as the mountain. Now, from Matt's side of things, since he's checked everything, I think he will definitely continue after the glove.
Yeah, from Matt's perspective, that says, well, I have access to the item on land molas, I have access to catfish. Hurrah!
Speaking of catfish, I think that's where Beer's going now.
Seems to be uninterested in the potential play over to desert and instead is going to run up to the terrible one-off location, which seems to be a bit of Rando's personal meme lately. I've seen a lot of progression items here in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh. And, you know, also, you know, Beer made this play. It was a gamble, you know, skipping desert. So I think, you know, he's following through on that gamble, saying, you know what? No, let's stick. Like, he found the glove there. So now it's more likely that Aga was indeed required. So it's also more likely that there wasn't anything in desert after all. So I think this is good. Wow.
Yeah, I'd say so. That might just be good. Suddenly, Homemade Beer has regularized Dark World access. We have to expect, given the way Matt's been playing, that right after Pod we're going to see the very same play to Catfish, since he's going to be a little low on other options anyway. So I don't think this is an advantage that's going to stay on Homemade Beer's side of the ledger for all that long, but he does seem to be making a lot of the right calls here in the relatively early going.
All right, let's see how hype Pet Cave is. 5 checks in this cave. Got a name from something, right? Well, oh no. Okay, I guess. Like a 1?
First bottle is not terrible, I guess. You're heading towards the village eventually anyway to deal with Thieves Town and Skull Woods. You can turn it in then and hope that it's something. Plus, you know, a bottle of blue potion is safety. Not to be overlooked.
Is this? Okay, I was like, is he thinking it's a swamp cave? But no, it's the book, the Bombos tablet. Ooh, do you think he'll go to desert after this? Because then we'll see what's on land.
This would not be a bad time to do it. He is in fact in the area. There is the save and quit from Matt, having cleared out the back half of Palace of Darkness, picked up the ice rod, and not much else interesting. And, yep, looks like the exact same play that Beer made, going to head straight for the catfish.
And meanwhile, Beer going straight for Bombos, finding that flute. This would also change my trajectory here as well. I would no longer go to desert there. I would definitely be going towards that activation. So.
And that is exactly what he is doing. And desert a little bit on the back burner for Homemade Beer. Let's see. It'll be interesting to see when Matt picks up this hammer exactly what he wants to do with it. I don't think that rock actually got into the circle of rocks. Going to have to throw the bush as well to wake the catfish up.
Yeah, I'm also really curious here because the hammer goes up a lot on the mountain too, on here. So definitely could see some divergence should we choose to go there instead.
It's a house start, which means we ought to see at least mostly what Weir showed us. Now, Bombo's tablet may be a little forgettable and out of the way. Maybe you want to try and leave it there and pair it up if you have to do some other terrible check like Purple Chest later. In which case, that flute could evade you for a little while.
Absolutely. And, you know, like we were talking about for Beer, since he hadn't done the desert, that could have been what was leading over there. But for Matt, since he's done most of the desert already, he might just be like, not really going there. All those broken. It's a lot of days.
For not a lot of value.
Yeah. Oh.
Looks like we have a very similar routing thought here from Matt7898 going to get that flute off of the Bombos tablet.
Alright, so like we talked about before, you've got a little bit of an advantage by dipping into Aga earlier. Matt is keeping pace, so following the same correct footsteps.
The seed does seem to be fairly straightforward and, I would say, more than a little linear in what it wants, particularly in the mid-game here. You could make some different choices on your way to that Aga play, but the Aga play into the pod play, into picking up that flute, all seems to have been fairly well laid out for our runners.
Agreed. Like, I mean, like I said, there was one spot of divergence with the mountain versus like arcade, but I don't think that most people would make that mountain play. So, you know, a lot of people like to save it until they have mitts and hookshot if they can. Now, what could be trolly about the seed is, you know, the hammer is the progression that you got from pod. If the seed wanted to be extra trolly, it could also have progression behind the hammer in that it's behind Helma or the green pendant. So, like, I feel like hammer is going to lead to something. And if they don't find it in like all their hammer checks now, like, you know, deep down big chest or something, it might still just end up being like Helma.
Yeah, possible, but at the same time, hammer being one of those pieces of the TR access package. Who wants to depend on TR? Well, now you have the mitts. Mitts in the brewery. Swirly Coin Brewing seems to be coming up. We found Bombos early, now we've got progression in the brewery. What are we seeing here?
Ice palette. Wait. Wait, I'm trying to think. Was there progression in the flippers checks? The bow, right? There was bow and Agena, so.
Yeah, that was the second logical bow, so kinda no?
Yeah, because there's nothing in waterfall carry or Zorlo, so.
I see Gamatu in chat has his beer route sign out. And Matt has decided that the Thievestown area not to be dealt with at the moment. Flute to the mountain. Let's get some new checks, shall we?
Yeah. You know, like I was explaining before, you know, even without that flute, like the mountain after the hammer had, you know, got all of these Death Mountain, and like Hera, which is a crystal, and with that Arcane and Burna, you even got Spike Cave. So.
And by the same token, this is another one of those plays that may kind of play into the efficiency advantage that Beer is trying to gain. He's going to be able to do Light and Dark Mountain together, having found those mitts in the Village of Outcasts.
Especially if he finds a hookshot before he goes. And especially if he finds a hookshot and oh wait, no, TR is necessary.
Not necessary until it is, of course.
Right.
Matt not finding a whole lot of value up here just yet, but there is still a lot of density to be had on Light Mountain. Go ahead and start with this Ether Tablet, see if there's something a little more interesting here, like a vanilla Ether Medallion, maybe?
I wouldn't expect anything on this medallion, since we already found something on Bombos. How often do you see both tablets having this? I mean, I would still check
right,
it,
but a boy can dream, right? Matt seeing that first item in Tower of Hera in that little basement cage, just 20 bucks.
You know, even though it's not a useful item, I like seeing an item in that cage because it's like, oh great, less chance of basement happening. I always feel like when there's an item there, it's less likely for the long tile room check to occur.
Also makes doing something like Hera Pot feel a little safer. You're not worried quite as much about the fact that you could be then baited right back into a basement run after all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when it's the big key in the other chest. Then it's like, oh, you can still check the big chest here. So, also important to note, Beer found the red mail, which is absolutely incredibly important and required in the Thief's Town big chest.
And he's going to go on Fight Blind, while Matt is going to work right on up to Moldorm up here. We'll see what the Moldorm has for the first of our runners to encounter it today.
Blind goes down for Beer.
Very nice fight. Pretty much on script, just that little corner of Blind's sheet there, touching the light at the end of the fight.
Very quick Moldorm fight for Matt as well.
And does find the other item in Tower of Hera. The basement run has been averted, but it was only a full heart container.
Not progression, but it is a crystal in hand. So we're both at 2 crystals right now.
Homemade Beer seems to be closing in on bottle percent, which is not the game we're actually playing today, but being a bottle there in C-shaped house is starting to fill out his inventory a little more.
And I like that he's going into the smith chain here. It doesn't get much better than this. Like, you know, you have the mirror, you have the mitts, you have the hammer, you have the boots. The only thing that can make this more dense is having the powder as well. So, also having that hammer be one of the latest of the progression items. You know, this is a hammer check that he's getting to do.
And he may be thinking that the overwhelming majority of the progression that our runners have seen this seed has been in the overworld, so he might be prioritizing overworld checks a little bit here.
Very possible. Yeah, we haven't found a whole lot of dungeons, have we? Besides pendant.
There was the glove in pod and the ice rod in pod, which may or may not actually be progression for our runners.
Yeah, so it seems like overworld and pendant dungeons is the way to go this time.
There are the flippers in Paradox Cave to make that second bow all nice and logical.
This also is kind of another hint, go to ice. Maybe. Without the hookshot arcane, it's still scary, but...
Yeah, with enough bomb jumps you can sequence break it, and then you have a little knowledge of where the other things you're looking for might be.
Ooh, he's going back for that spike cave. I don't believe Matt has the mitts.
No, he did not go to the Village of Outcasts area. Homemade Beer has showed us that the Quake Medallion is required for entry to Mire, and that Mire Shack does not have the Quake Medallion in it. Quake not under the doormat, but maybe it's under the key flap out back here in Checkerboard Cave.
So this is another spot where Homemade Beer is getting to save some time. Being able to go to Desert this way is definitely a time save over doing it with the book. Especially because you can, after you're done clearing out Desert, you can just mirror back to that one spot and go to the back. So Matt will still not lose too much time because he'll eventually find those mitts as well. And so he'll be able to go straight to the back once he's in the area. but he did have to do it once with the book, so.
Yep, Matt going to go ahead and get into the village portal now. Will be on top of those mitts and, well, whatever else that he wants to find. I don't believe that homemade beer was part of Team Treat the Front of Skull Woods' overworld, so there may be some more progression lurking there.
I'm curious to see what's on land mode.
Well, your curiosity ought to be sated here in the next minute or so. Homemade beer is heading that way. Matt going to pick up bottle number 2 out of the chest game. Little added safety with that red potion inside. And, of course, those mitts out of the brewery, so our runners are back on a fairly even footing here. Matt now in Thieves Town. We know he's going to find the red mail in the back here, but I don't think there was anything else that was really valuable. Well, Homemade Beer is about to show us what this item was on land mode. 1, 2, 3 silver sticks. Very nicely done. As expected of runners of this caliber.
Alright, so crystal count is now 3-2, while Matt is working on his third crystal as well. So, good job to the runners. The seed has been, like you said, relatively linear. It's kind of choke pointing them, or I don't know if that's the correct, bottlenecking them into certain places.
Yeah, at this point, now that you have both of the real major Dark World access points with the mitts and the hammer, and you have the flute as well, plus the mirror, now you can go wherever you want. So the bottleneck ends once you find those handful of items, and, well, you want to take the mitts and the flute and the mirror and combine them all together to get your fire rod out of Checkerboard Cave.
Mm-hmm. So that makes Ice Palace even more appealing, but it also puts Skull Woods in play. I can't remember if they found 2 items or if they even checked while they were there. I feel like they checked a little bit.
I do not think that Beer did, but I think that's where he's heading now, so we'll see for sure.
Very nice timing with the bomb there from Matt 7898. Throwing it just in time for it to explode on the wall there. Just classic.
There are a lot of kind of interesting strats for dealing with that room. You can throw the bomb early and then you can try to time out the explosion with some slashes and then start your dash. A lot of it really just depends on knowing the bomb timing well enough so that you can leave the room as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, since he didn't actually check that earlier, you think he'll check it after finishing Skull Tier?
If he wants to do it, this would be the time, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. That's one reason why a lot of people like to wait to check it later is, you know, if you have the mirror while you're doing Skull Woods, then it's quicker than running up there early. So. But I don't know.
We got a quick menu check there from Matt. I think that was trying to make sure whether or not he had any of the dungeon items yet, and thus whether or not he could skip the big chest. Making sure that does result in the red mail. Safety, hurrah, hurrah, and all that.
And with the mirror, they don't have to worry about things like death warping for the most part, unless it's like a TR portal situation, but that's a question in chat, Ganon. The book was in like Lost Woods or in Escape. Like it was early.
Yeah, the book was in the mushroom spot.
Yeah, mushroom spot. So it was right there. But you know, for me, having seen that ice rod, and oof, shot here, there's the shot on Matula.
Yep, simultaneous crystal catches nearly enough, but the map on Matt's side there clearing out blind for his third crystal, and homemade beer getting that hook shot off of Mothula and collecting his fourth.
Well, that's definitely following those items. You got that fire rod, went straight to Still Woods, found his progression there, and this is the pet check. So I was gonna say I like doing it here because having that ice rod, you know, making sure pet is not a thing to me is like, okay, that makes TR less like amazing to go do. Like if you knew it was something on ped, then you're like, okay, I need to get TR out of the way ASAP. But Beer is cruising right along, maintaining his lead. But he finally does decide to go to the mountain now that he's got the full gear, so he's going to be able to clear everything up here. And I'm curious to see what is on Super Bunny and Hookshot Cave, since Matt already came up to the mountain and was not able to check those things. So this could be something pretty big. I mean, I would expect a Kane of Samaria here.
That really is going to be the question. This once again appears to be Beer thinking most of what I need has been in the overworld. Let's stick with that. Let's not sequence break Ice Palace, even though we could.
And he will find his flippers here, so that puts Ice Palace in full logic.
It'll put Swamp in full logic as well, which is an interesting position to be in.
Well, actually, so is it just flippers for Goma?
Flippers, and if we need to get into the right side of GT basement for the big key, we'll need Samaria.
Right, the GT big key could be a thing. 5 out of 22 that it could be on the right side. But this is one of those seeds where both Meyer and TR are pendants, so the Cane of Samaria might not be required. I was like, oh, they need Quake and Cane of Samaria, but I'm like, wait, no, they don't, not necessarily. So this might be Goma for Homemade Beer. Do you think he'll check Super Bunny and Hookshot anyway, or?
Well, considering that he's doing this bomb jump, he's not leaving just yet. Well, he's going to be forced to go around again, I suppose. I was wondering if he was going to go ahead and make additional checks. I figured he was just clearing out Paradox Cave there out of a sense of completion. And now he's going to float away.
This is Beer. So Raid is in chat mentioning that if you're playing against Matt, you treat that as go mode, and because you don't want to give him time. And you know, people agreeing with him, and I agree as well. Like, just go and hope that Cane of Samaria is not required, or that it's a check you get like that's on the way. I might have still done Super Bunny and Hookshot Cave because you were right there, and then so many items. You know, like they could just be sitting there, and then you don't have to worry at all, and you can truly go mode the dungeons. You know, but.
Yeah, I think from Beer's perspective, he's going to hope that it's on his critical path already, and if he still doesn't have it while he's heading up to go clear out Hera and then enter GT, he can make those checks then, or maybe even he does the rest of GT basement, and then those are his first checks afterwards.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's right there on the mountain, so makes perfect sense. So, what was it, like 49, 50 minutes? Beer is in potential go mode?
Yeah, a bit of a Schrodinger's go mode here, but probably going to be treating it as such, going to skip that bombable wall check, unlikely to do the southern check. We'll probably see Diver down, we'll see those two chests opened, maybe even the waterfall, although that's a little slower. We'll see. While Matt is going to go ahead and try to even this crystal count game back up by 1, 2, 3 silvering those land molas. Very nicely done.
Very, very nice. Now, the other question is, so it's very likely Matt's going to go do Checkerboard Cave, find his fire rod, go to Skull Woods, find his hook shot. Do you think Matt will treat it as go mode as well, or do you think he'll go search this point?
I expect we're going to see the same kind of play where we'll get some minimal checks, chests that you're practically touching along the way just in case, but by and large, when you're at this level of play, you have to treat it as go mode because you know that your opponent's going to treat it as basically go mode, and there's only so much time you can afford to give away even when you have an execution advantage, because something like this game could have happened and your opponent could have hit the route just a little more efficiently than you.
Yeah, and I think in Matt's case, it would be even more tempting to treat it as full go mode because he full cleared before doing tackles. So he knows he likely lost time if his opponent did not do that. So all right, well, we will not be able to say if we're in go mode until we get to GT, everyone. So this is going to be both of these runners flying through these dungeons, treating it as mostly go mode and checking only things that are super easy and on the way. We have Swamp Palace and Ice Palace left for homemade beer, as well as Tower Hera, which you can loop in with GT. And for Matt, he will get his hook shot here after beating Macula, and he will have Swamp Palace and Ice Palace remaining. So, even though it looks like Matt may be behind, he's not very far behind. Now,
he does have the advantage of that Hera clear, so Beer is only temporarily gaining a 1 crystal lead here that Matt is going to close back up with the completion of Skull Woods.
And it's important to note, too, that Swamp Palace and Ice Palace and Skull Woods, they're all very fast dungeons. Like, if you're just going to the back to clear them, loading them, they're super fast. And also, Beer, when he does Hera, not only will he be able to loop it in with GT, but he'll also be able to Hera climb. So that'll save him a little bit of time as well.
Another one of those little pieces that has just kind of fallen on the homemade beer Swirly Coin Brewing side of the ledger in this scene.
Still feels a little bad to go into ice without Canis Mario. It's not quite as fast as I made it sound like, but still have to do the bomb jump here, West House bomb jump.
That's fine. It's one of those pieces of tech that a lot of these runners are going to be conversing with, but that we don't get to see all that often anymore. So many people want to wait and get that red cane, and, well, sometimes the Cane of Samaria is just in the icebreaker chest, and then if you don't know the other tech, what are you going to do?
Exactly. Or sometimes you get a seed like this, where Cane of Samaria may not even be required. It could be sitting in GT validation chest.
That would be a lovely place for that item. Crystal number 5 on the board for Matt. We are sub-hour. We are just a couple of crystals on each side away from entering that tower, rummaging around in the basement, finding the big key.
Alright, here goes Ice Palace one jump for homemade beer. Here goes the swamp play for Matt.
First try bomb jump, free and easy. Who even worries?
I missed this earlier, but Waffle's mentioning because Beard knows that it's very likely that swamp is something Matt will also go with. And that's a good point too. Once again, we go back to the opponents or the runners knowing each other enough to know what they would do in these certain cases. So.
Yeah, and even more simply than that, it's really a question of Beer knowing how much time that he doesn't have to give, or maybe a better way to put it is how much time he thinks he needs to make up. Probably doesn't really think that he can afford to make those extra checks, and so he's not going to make them.
Yeah, absolutely. And on Beer's side, like he did the spin chain and those types of things. Like depending on how Matt routed, like maybe Matt didn't do those things, so he might be thinking like, okay, yeah, I really don't have to look up to play any safer or to do extra things. So got to see the first chest in Swamp Palace on Matt's side, and it was just the map. So
Interesting. That's the kind of thing you would expect that would be skipped. It does take a little time. You've got a couple of screen transitions involved. You have to wait for the bomb. Maybe this is Matt considering I'm going to try and press my execution advantage here, make a couple extra checks. Maybe Samaria is required. Maybe I find it along the way in something that's just a little out of the way. Of course, that's Ice Palace down for Homemade Beer. He's now back on the mountain. Does still need to pick up the crystal from Tower of Hera, but when he does, he's going to be right on top of Ganon's tower.
this is incredible. Like we're looking at definitely sub 80 here if Game of Samaria is required.
That will be the kicker. If we wind up on a Cane of Samaria hunt, just about anything goes.
Okay, so he is going to do Super Bunny and Chocolate here, right? Otherwise he would have gone the other way, right?
Well, he wants to be in the Dark World one way or the other so that he can mirror a Tower of Hera and then step into his portal and be right at GT.
Right.
So it's entirely possible that he picks up the Super Bunny chests here. They're at least within arm's reach, I guess you could say.
But probably not Hookshot Cave.
Hookshot Cave would be a little more time consuming. I would not expect to see that, even if he does take these, and it appears that he will. Those are red things, but neither of them the red thing that Homemade Beer was looking for.
I am guessing King's probably not required. I feel like the seed is just like, nah, you need it.
You think this is the mythical nice seed?
I do.
A good seed, if you will?
Yeah, okay. So after, we're not going to do it yet, but after Beer finishes off Tower of Hera, it looks like he will be the first one to get the 7th crystal. We will be playing a game to guess which chest in GT is the big key. So, knowing that this is caneless, if you guess anything above 17, you are guessing that the cane is required.
You're guessing that you're a terrible person and you love rando.
I'm gonna guess like 7. How about you?
Why not say 1? How about a torch key?
Nice. Homemade Beer loves to guess 1, right? So I'm glad that you're going with 1 today.
Crystal 6 for Matt, Crystal 7 for Homemade Beer. If you want to guess, you have about 15 seconds. This fanfare is going to finish playing out. He'll walk down some stairs and step into his mirror portal, and then walk up into GT.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to start that off a little early, because I knew that hair clear is going to be fast. We have a guess of 23 in chat. I don't think that's how it works.
What is that first check outside of GT for the
okay.
for the Cane of Samaria?
Okay, all right. Let's view this then. Wouldn't that be 18? Oh.
Ooh, Beer thinks about the torch key, decides against it. We're going to see Hope Room.
Yeah, I mean, especially without Samaria, I would say Hope Room full left is the way to go. Just double bombs there. So we have chests 1 and 2 were both bombs.
Bombs and bombs, just like the outcome of those first 2 checks.
Number 3 is a small key.
There is a key on the torch, just not the one I was hoping for.
Oh, wow. 4. Number 4 was the answer today. Did anybody in chat guess 4? No, we do not have a single guess that was 4. We have 6 is pretty close, 2 is pretty close.
We had a 5 from Drive-Thru Cola.
Oh, there it is, 5. I guess 5 is the closest, so good job, Drive-Thru Cola. And that means Canis Mario was indeed not required, and the big key was not too deep into this dungeon, so I would say pretty friendly seed. Early on was a little rough, you know, pretty linear with the aga and everything, but afterwards, not too bad. And at this point, it is definitely Beer's game to lose. Matt will still have to finish Ice Palace and then head up to GT. And even though you know, he does have the execution advantage, that's a lot of time to make up. So
certainly a situation where we can now say that it is Beer's race to lose, but strange things have happened in the past. We will not count our chickens before they have crossed the race time GG finish line.
absolutely. And as you can see here, Matt is also being a little more thorough with the checks, not treating it as complete go mode like Homemade Beer did. Which I think is exactly like his point.
Yeah, and if we'd been in a situation that we now know that we're not, thanks to Beer, that the Cane of Samaria had been required, if it had been in one of those locations, we would have had a very sudden reversal of fortune.
Yeah, absolutely. The Lambert jumps. Still got the 0 cycle though.
Yeah, that was a solid way to clean that fight up. The Lambo decided it was going to jump in the opposite direction from the arrow and still managed to clean it up in just one phase.
Very nice with this room as well. Normally you come in here with Samaria and just blow them all up, but
it's so satisfying. You just walk in with the Cane of Samaria, one block does for all 3 Wizrobes, and you're done. But that's not the way it works when you don't have the Cane of Samaria.
Alright, I like this Bombos usage here as well. Like, it takes a little time, but you guarantee to hit them all. Don't have to worry about the spike or trying to shoot your bow or...
Given that you're probably looking at 2, maybe 3 cycles, depending on how it works out, if you try to use bow or something else on them, just spend the time with Bombos. You have a nice little reprieve there for a few seconds while you can gather yourself back up for the rest of the climb. It's not a bad play. I like it.
Me too. And Matt has collected all his 7 crystals as well, and he's heading up towards GT. We'll see if he decides to check Super Bunny and Hookshot Cave on the way. He was being a little bit, you know, more thorough with the dungeons, so we'll see if he continues that path here, or if he just says, you know what, never mind, let's just go. Getting the bad news is Super Bunny. You're having a little trouble with this Moldorm, but that Moldorm is being evil. Very nice use of the hook shot there to dodge getting hit by it.
Certainly a more uncooperative worm and the ultimate chest of the game with 1/4 of its vanilla value, a blue rupee there to finish the seed off.
I was really hoping for the Canis Maria there.
Well, maybe it's in Hookshot Cave.
We'll see. We have one more chest in here. Oh.
Not
you know what?
either.
It's probably a good thing for Matt, though, because now that we know that it's not required, you know, like, if he had found the Canis Maria there, that could have baited him into going right or something, you know, and given up even more time.
Well, he wasn't going to go right with the double bombs in Hope Room.
Oh, well, that's true.
He was
I
going
mean, if
to
he
go
did, like,
left
Dark Magician or something.
Well, the big key was in DM's room.
That's true. Never mind. So impossible. He wouldn't have done it.
I mean, theoretically, you could steal the key off the torch and try and go right, but that would be a little silly, I think.
That's going to be my new strat from now on. Steal the key from the torch and from the one with the pegs.
Alright, Smirk, what are you going to do when there's not a key on the torch?
I just the forfeit. Insta forfeit. What? This game is broken. No big key. What am I supposed to do? Alright, beer dropping down for the Ganon fight. 4.5 hearts, red mail, silvers, half magic, and Cane of Burnup.
I'm reasonably sure he still has that red potion from the chest game, so should still have plenty of safety in the bag.
I don't think he got the 1-in-1, but he should be able to get the 2-in-1.
You have a very nice location for phase 2. You just stand up there and let the wall do all the work of holding you in place.
Great dodges there. He's got to be a little careful. I think he can take another fire bat hit, but not again.
No, hugging the pig is not advised. Even when you're on red mail, the pig himself is going to do a decent chunk of damage to you, and Beer does not have the health pool left to withstand it. Matt's going to go ahead and start chasing him up the climb here.
Right. Nice, very nice. I think that's a double, and almost torch glitch, but you don't really need it here. That's another double, and there it goes. Down goes Ganon for homemade beer. Going to be finishing first place as long as he can cross this bridge here.
Just has to wait out the fanfare and the bridge extension, and then he can cross over into the Triforce room, and we can officially call homemade beer of Swirly Coin Brewing the victor with a race time GG time of 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 32 seconds.
Wow, absolutely outstanding time. GG's to homemade beer. Put on a great race today, followed all the signs, made the right calls and the right gambles, and it paid off. GG's. And I believe we will be waiting for Matt before they both join, or no? There he is. Homemade beer, welcome, and GG's.
Hello. GG's.
Hey, good game to you.
That was somehow a crazy fast seed.
Well, what do you think about your gambles today?
I hated every single one of them, but I kind of knew I had to do them. I'm playing Matt. Like, you don't win straight up against Matt.
Yeah, it really seemed like every one of them kind of allowed you a little bit of an efficiency advantage. You know, he was out of the escape sequence maybe 10 or 12 seconds before you were, but then you started chaining checks up in a manner where you got to continue gaining advantage through efficiency, and here we have the end result.
Yeah. It's a very good point.
There were I screwed up the ball and chain guard pretty bad, so I left escape kind of half on tilt. It's only 5 minutes in. I can't be mad now yet. Then each time I found something, I kept like thinking, "Am I done? Do I go and do I follow this, or do I keep checking?" Because I was gonna do the rest of Skullwoods, do the North Darkworld stuff, and I'm like, I still haven't touched the mountain. There's like 30 checks up there. Let me check the mountain. And when I found the flippers, I'm like, well, that's Samaria Lisco mode. So let me just check Hookshot Cave real quick, because that's where I would have expected it to be, if anywhere. And then I failed the bomb jump, and I'm like, nah, we're done. If it's there, I'll check it on the way. And then I just decided to go mode everything after that.
And Matt was definitely trying to put his execution advantage to really good use. He made some more checks along the way in dungeons that you wound up really kind of go-moding your way through. A couple of extra checks in Swamp, and extra check or two in Ice Palace.
Yeah, you guys, I've talked to you a lot about how I think about this game, and one of my sort of theories is that if you're looking for Samaria, it's probably somewhere behind the hookshot. And so, nothing in Swamp is behind the hookshot except for the back, and nothing in Ice is behind the hookshot except the right side and the boss, and I wasn't going to do the right side, so that's why I wanted to do hookshot game so bad, but whatever.
Yeah, actually, while you were there, I was telling MindGame that I also expected it to be Hookshot Cave. But we did see Matt check Hookshot Cave on his way to GT, and it was not there after all, so...
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know I was wrong. And I'm glad I failed that bomb jump, I guess.
No.
Now, Beerman, we do have a question from chat for you. Uplifting Chaff asks if this is a Cast Boots PB for you.
I think it is. I think it's by like a minute, maybe.
Wow. Well, congrats on a new PB then.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think I've had like a 110 or a 111 at some point. Honestly, I'd have to go look. I don't remember. But yeah, I think this is a PB.
All right, Matt going into the Ganon fight here.
Also misses that one cycle in phase 1. You two seem to have had a fairly similar strat here. Of course, that's such a nice position for phase 2 when you have tempered or butter that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I felt bad, but I was kind of like, whatever. Like, I have silvers. I'm gonna lose 5 seconds. It's okay, I think.
But it was a reasonably generous pig and overall a reasonably generous seed. Don't think it asked either of you to really go out of your way. Meyer required Quake to get in, which we never saw from either of you. Who knows what the TR entry medallion was? Nobody wanted to go there.
It's probably Bombos.
But without the cane, it didn't matter. So.
And
right.
The pig is dead. Long live the pig. Matt going to wait out the fanfare and then cross the bridge as well.
All right, get your GGs in chat for Matt7898 as he finishes with the 114.44 on recent GG.
And it appears if we wait just a moment, there he is. We are also joined in the booth by Matt7898. Matt, good game to you.
GGs.
Hey, how's it going? Hold on, let me mute here.
Hey, GG's, dude.
GG's.
Yeah, that was one of those seeds where, you know, there were a lot of options for gambling, and you know, I basically took every one. I was, you know, it's hard to say. I like nervous might be the wrong word, but like I knew I couldn't really give you any edge if I had like options to gamble. Like I felt like I would have to take them, and you know, in order to stay ahead.
Yeah, you guys made the comment I missed the 1-1 against Ganon, and that was because I opened the race time room, and I was so shocked at the time.
Oh,
I was like, what is that? But I mean, I guess it comes together. It makes sense if you beeline Aga a little faster and you do the village and get the mist, then you just get everything. If you go mode everything, like
yeah, like I think I had Saha, Eastern, and Desert area. I skipped Dam on the first pass through, so I did Dam into Desert, and I was thinking if I saw an item like a glove or something on the Desert ledge, I'd go into Desert, but I didn't, so I just did Agina instead. And so I had the silvers, and I'm like, okay, well, I have Saha, Eastern, and the mirror, but I had like no money. I had like 10 rupees or something. Like, well, I'll do Aga, I'll do Pod EP, and like hope that it's an Aga seed, because it felt like it probably was at that point.
Wait, you did Aga before Eastern or Desert?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, well,
it's coming together now. Yeah, no. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all just kind of coming together now.
Yeah,
because
so I was going to get the rupee room in Eastern, but then the first chest was $300, so I had enough to go into Pod after.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, like after I beat Eastern, like my bow was out of logic, right? So I thought about doing Aga, but I didn't have the Agina bow, so when I was doing Aga, I was doing it for potentially only one item. So that's why I went to Desert. Then I got the Agina bow, and I was like, well, I'm here, so I kind of got to go in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, basically that, and then after Pod, I thought like, well, I have the mirror, so Catfish doesn't get any faster. I already did all the Zord checks, so I'm like, okay, I'll save and quit, do Catfish off of the pyramid, and found the hammer. Like, oh, that feels pretty good. So I'm like, okay, I'll go do South Shore, or I'll do what's it called, Hype Cave, and then get bombos on the way to desert, because again I had a glove now and I hadn't touched desert. I'm like, I'll just finish it off now and see if there's progression there.
Yeah, then you got the flute.
And then I got the flute, so I just turned back around. I'm like, all right, I'm going back to the village.
Yeah, I actually did the exact same thing. Except
nice.
After I activated the flute, I went up to the mountain, and I'm guessing you went into the village based on.
Yeah, so I took the portal I did the South Dark World stuff, did the flute, and then went back into the village. And because I had done everything, my plan was I hadn't checked ped early, actually. That was the thing that I like usually do, but I'm like finding places to save time if I can. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll just do all the village and Thieves Town checks, and if I find whatever I find, I'll do Skullwoods afterwards and check ped if I don't find Fire Rod, whatever. But then when I found the mitts, I'm like, okay, I'll do Smith Chain and then check. And I still hadn't touched desert because of the flute, so I'm like, okay, I'll check Mire area.
Yeah, then you get your Fire Rod, and you go right and get your hook shot. Yeah.
Exactly.
I see the route now. Yeah.
So I hadn't touched Death Mountain the whole seed.
That makes perfect sense. So then you go right up there, and when you get your Flippers and Paradox Cave, that's go mode for you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was going to check some hookshot checks up there, and then failed to do so. So I said, okay, fine, I'm done. Like, we'll yellow this, and if I need to go find Kane, I'll go look for it later.
Yeah, I did some checks for Kane. I was a little more thorough because I did Swamp before Ice, just because if you find the Kane in Swamp, you save so much time.
Yeah, I kind of did the same thing.
And then I did the Super Bunny and Hookshot Cave on my way up. It's just not only like Kane is kind of nice having the climb as well, but
yeah,
it could have been in GT, right? Because the way Ice Palace was laid out, so it was.
That was the other reason why after I finished Ice and it wasn't Kane locked as far as I could tell. I'm like, okay, well, like Kane could actually be in GT now, so let's just keep going and ignoring stuff. But I did do Super Bunny. I ended up not doing Hookshot Cave at that point because it's like impossible.
Not doing Super Bunny is like obscenely aggressive.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But yeah, I was I don't know, I was kind of nervous enough going in, but I kept telling myself that don't be nervous, just play and hope the seed is okay. And I got I just honestly got like more lucky with a lot of gambles. It feels like.
Yeah, I didn't play particularly well, but I certainly did not play 5 minutes bad. So I don't think there was a whole lot I could have done based on my route in this one. You just crushed it. Well done. Kudos.
Thanks. Yeah, you even see the 16 more checks from you. Yeah, I definitely left a lot behind. I was just like really nervous about like getting caught up there. So
yeah, fair enough.
So tell me, this was, I believe, the first game between your two teams for this week. Who's going to be playing in the other matchup?
Demo. Who's coming from your side? Is it?
CS Tutor. And I don't think that game's scheduled yet. I think there was some not conflicts, but both parties had to figure out what time was best. It might be scheduled by now. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, I don't think they scheduled it.
So we'll be looking forward to the second half of this week's matchup between Waffle House Drive-Thru and Swirly Brewing at a time to be named later. Either of you runners have any final thoughts on this seed that you'd like to share with us?
No, just GG's and good luck in the game 2 this week.
Yeah, thanks, GG's. That was a pretty crazy seed, and so it was fun to race it. I think it's the first time we've gotten a race, so that was cool.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, I see, said representative of Swirly Brewing there in the chat, CS Tutor, saying probably sometime during the weekend. All right, we'll keep an eye out for that one.
Well, I definitely wanted to say thank you to both of you. GG's again to both of you. You put on an incredibly entertaining and super fun, exciting show for us today. It was very fast seed, and you both crushed it. You both were amazing. And big thanks to Mindium for commentating with me, to Jinxie Girl for being the tracker today, and for the restream being put on. So just a big thanks to everyone here.
Yeah, thanks Smirk, My Indium, and Jinxie Girl for putting this on, and the restreamer Lemmy Lem's work. And
Yeah,
thanks
a lot,
again to
guys.
Matt for
Echo.
racing.
Yeah, GG's, man.
Yep, let me echo that one more time as well. Thank you, everybody. It's not a show without all of us, including you out there in Chatland. Thank you for giving us, well, this was kind of a fast one, so an hour and 15 minutes of your time on this this particular weekday evening. I think that's going to pretty much do it for us here. There is plenty more Link to the Past Randomizer League Season 4 action coming up this week. Of course, you can go over to ALTTPRleague.com and get at the schedules both for the Invitational League. This was a matchup between Invitational League teams, or for the Open League. There is a lot of Link to the Past Rando League going on right now. I guarantee you can get your fill. I'm pretty sure we've got some going on other channels even as we speak. But let me just say, for our runners, Matt7898 and Homemade Beer, for my co-com, Smirk JD, for our tracker, Jinxie Girl, thank you all so much, and this has been a Speed Gaming presentation of Link to the Past Randomizer League Invitational Week number 3, Casual Boots. Matchup between those runners, Matt7898 of Waffle House Drive-Thru and Homemade Beer of Swirly Brewing. Have a good rest of your evening, everybody.